Russian Civil War. I just haven't gotten through the setup yet, but I laid out all the pieces that everybody's going to get. And one player has a particularly interesting position right now. He has, oops, not him. Yeah, this guy. Has both Lenin and Trotsky, which gives him a couple extra Politburo markers. He also has Denikin and some powerful, and some white support. So he's trying to consider what he can do with his position. Everyone else is probably going to try to divest into either all red or all white. Normally what will happen is one player, what they say is in a 5-player game, one player gets all the white pieces. I've generally seen in large numbers that you have that kind of concentration attempts. It's not necessary, but this player is definitely going to be considering whether or not to keep Denikin and some white units if he can. So I've disposed of most of the forces, well, everything really. Only one player concentrated fully on the whites. That would be player C, who has kind of a scattered presence, but most importantly holds the gold and has some units kind of out of place. He cut a number of trades, gave away white for white there. Otherwise, people pretty much held what they had. There was a little bit of exchange in some of the red leaders. Now, we're seeing one of the problems with the game, which is that it's tough to tell who's got what. As people become more geographically located, the world becomes a lot easier to understand. Right now, things are a mismatch. Sometimes trades will clear that up, but as it stands right now, really it's a matter of people have to get their center of power together. One thing to note is that the Reds control the central railways, and that's a major, major factor in terms of being able to move around quickly. So those Reds are going to get conglomerated and where they want to be fairly quickly. You'll also see there's some white units over here that are uncommanded, and those are kind of prime pickings. That's one of the reasons why people have whites with no leader or with no units under them, the small stacks basically. They're not as upset by that as maybe the people who have the Reds with no leaders or with no units under them, who really want to get their leaders to someplace where they're a little safer, because leaders die, they're gone forever. Same thing with blue units. Green, red, and white units, for the first 5 turns of the game, as long as their home province isn't controlled by an enemy color, and color means everything in this, that's the only things you can attack are colors you're opposed to. As long as your home province isn't controlled by an enemy color, the units come back. And victory points are from things you killed or did or whatever. So things you kill in the first 5 turns, unless they're leaders or blue units, don't count for anything, which is kind of a weird dynamic. All right. Okay, so I've started play. I'm using kind of a modification where instead of seating order determining the order of play, normally you just pick a counter and that person would be the first player, and then you go around clockwise, whatever. Instead of totally randomizing the order of play, I think that actually provides for a better game. Anyhow, player B went first. They're the person with Lenin and Trotsky, as well as some white power. And what they've done, they ran up north with Lenin and Trotsky and another guy, and killed off, using propaganda and subversion attacks, a couple of blue units, because they're worth points, period, the end, towards the red player. Killing green units is better, but green units will come back. So I want to grab those red points, make sure that I'm in good shape with the Reds. I tried the same down here, but that did not work. Also made a consolidation, grabbing some more of the white units and building up some bigger stacks so that the whites can defend themselves. Feel like this guy's going to be sort of the power player in the game, so we're going to see what happens, but he's going to probably be everybody's target on the red side, really, and the white side has to watch out for him as well. So he's going to be a problem. Player E went next. He also grabbed some quick subversion points, and this is an advantage to going early with a red player in the first turn, as these things have to be cleared up. And he basically gathered up his units to make those attacks and get rid of some German units. He also did pulled the unit he had in Siberia down on the rail and managed to gather up with another unit in Uralsk. And finally he did a quick attack on the Greens in Kharkov, getting rid of some Ukrainians. Those aren't permanent deaths. They'll probably come back, but it seems worthwhile to control whether or not they do. Player D got the next round, and he also made some quick subversion attacks. In his case, he's all red. He's consolidating some force down in the Ukraine. And also pulled somebody up here to get rid of the units in the Baltic region. He also made an attack over here against those poor Czechs, but that didn't work. Player C, as the white player, had less options. He can't do the subversion attacks. So he moved in and basically murdered one of them red leaders with his units. A was left behind with a unit, didn't get to move early. A lot of people are out of his area. He's going to suffer attrition. Basically, anybody who moves really late in the turn has this problem. Again, these are some weird little balance issues in the game that you have to worry about. There are some vulnerable red leaders up here that somebody could go kill. Among other things, B also pulled the gold down. And he's got a unit over here in Vladivostok that he couldn't use. The gold could have been used in an attempt to bribe some of the green units over in Siberia, but they were too hard to get to. So he's looking at either getting something out of the Ukraine or down in Transcaucasus. They still can't leave those areas, though, which is kind of a pain in the butt, so the Ukraine's more valuable. We'll see what happens. Player A went next. Took a kind of risky, not in terms of losses, but gathering all his forces together in Poltava and scared the French out of the area, which is some good points. He only had a 50-50 chance of getting them. The other option was pretty much guaranteed getting a couple of those one-pointers. He also gathered up his whites in Stavropol, which was a big deal because there was, again, a guy left alone. Very rapidly, F finished up by wiping out a stack of units. They got the Poles on their side. They wiped out a stack of red units, and they also did some subversion attacks. Their whites gathered, and oops, haven't rolled the attack yet. I think they may or may not. I'll make that decision in a moment, but that's it. Okay, one last thing remained for the turn. This could happen at any time during the player turns, but basically player B's powerful position made all the other red players say, hey, wait, let's purge him. Now, there was a little bit of negotiation. Player F with his Poles was the one who started the discussion. And player D, who got whacked, said, wait, I got hosed here. We'll make the purge, but only if I can get the first 3 points gained off the purge. Well, a purge isn't going to give more than 3 points, so this was kind of foolish. But anyway, that was the deal. And then there was some other kind of considerations involved. And basically it came down to, okay, it's only fair with the units that he lost that he get the bonus out of it. Now everybody went along with it except maybe F, and so they cut him out of the Central Committee. There were enough points in the Central Committee to allow players A, D, and E to conduct a purge. They rolled, got fairly lucky, got a 2-pointer, which is the best they could do under those circumstances. And player D grabbed a Polyboro marker from player B. At this point, everybody else is kind of saying to themselves, okay, that's fine, he got his deal this time. The rest of us want something this next time. So if there's going to be further purges, they're going to have to take that into consideration. And taking a Polyboro marker was kind of a dicky move in the sense that D already has such a pile of them that they're becoming more and more the central committee in and of themselves. So unless they're willing to deal with people, the central committee may not happen anymore. Anyway, what's cool with the purges is if you didn't take a Polyboro marker, and those cost 2 each, you can take leaders with values equal to the value you took. B didn't have any level 2 leaders, they only have level 3 and level 1s. D could have taken a couple of level 1s or maybe whatever. But whatever the deal was that was arranged can't be reneged on after the roll. So given that I made a silly deal and then agreed to it, that's what happens. The last thing I have to do is reassign units, and I'll get back to that in a moment. So I just wanted to check a couple of things on the replacement rolls. Got 2 units put back on the map, whites in Livonia and some reds in Orel. What I wanted to check was whether or not if somebody was there, they got to stack with them immediately. They do not. What didn't happen is the 2 green units that were killed did not go back. They were from Livonia and Kharkov, and Livonia already had the whites, and Kharkov already had some whites. So that prevents opposed units from rebuilding there. So that's the end of one turn. I'm probably going to pay a lot less attention to details on the other turns and give you guys more broad overviews. But I wanted you to see some of the chaos of the first turn as people collect up. And then now it should be more broad movements and looking at the points. All right.